Good morning, everybody. We're here. Welcome. Just checking everything looks right. Cool. I think we've actually got everything set up right. We'll find out in a moment. So, all right. For those of you paying careful attention, you notice that Drew isn't in his box. He's going to be joining us in about a half an hour. Actually, say for Sam, it's down.
As soon as I started looking, I was like, I don't know where. I actually don't know where he is.
Yeah,
letting Drew out of his box is a very dangerous proposition.
That's actually something we should probably do: is screen snap the page so we have a reference of where we're supposed to be pointing. All right.
Nah.
Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. As usual, biggest time zones, they're awkward. So, let's get on with this. Let's start out by doing the introductions of the Who's. So we'll start with Chantal, if you'd be so kind. Who are you? What you doing?
I am Chantal. I play Alexandre.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to play Alexandre. That's what I'm doing. I feel like these questions were set up to help me fail.
I'm a cruel and evil GM, yes, carry on.
I've noticed.
Alrighty, Jamie.
What do now?
Me, yeah, I'm good. I just had a very delicious homemade dinner and dessert. I made chicken satay, and we also had like a puff pastry deconstructed apple and strawberry pie, and that was real tasty.
I like the phrase deconstructed in culinary terms, because what it usually means is didn't bother to get to the last step of assembly. I think it's fantastic. It is legitimizing, couldn't be bothered to finish the recipe. I think it's a great term.
It's more that like it's a lot easier to cook puff pastry by itself than with filling in it. And we were just going to have filling with cream, and then we were like, oh, we've got this puff pastry, let's just chuck some in the oven and then eat it like on the side. And it was delicious. It worked great. And all these food descriptions were specifically for Chantal's benefit.
I really love puff pastry.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks.
No, I am otherwise very well, and I'm excited to be here and get some unlawful disorder rolling up in here.
Yeah, all right. Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam. I play Chevalier. Yes, also very excited to see where we go from here, I guess. Kind of sort of presented ourselves with a number of options last week, and we're like, we'll do one of them, we'll work it out, whatever.
All right. So Alexandre, can Alexandre give a quick summation of recent events and her opinions thereon? I said quick.
Oh boy. Okay. Spider did some stupid stuff, and then we discussed the stupid stuff. We had a discussion about politics, or the dislike of politics, or the liking of politics. Very confusing about the Progress Confederacy. We decided that we were going to maybe go and do a heist. We were going to we went and we looked at different things about all of the people here, and we found out that they don't like the progress here. This is where we are, and they don't like it. So that's something we know. Alexandre, I like it here, I think. If I could stay somewhere for the rest of my life, probably here.
Why is that?
I like everyone seems to just be willing to do what it is that makes them happy instead of what it is that the progress wants.
Okay.
Come to beautiful Glitter Delta Cove. Stay for the wonderful festival. The bright lights during the floods and the dangerous bounty hunters who want you dead.
Awkward.
Look, get out of my head.
Chevalier, we'll take your opinion next. Since you're putting it out anyway.
We have discovered, to at least some extent, the repercussions of just how visible of a group we are. I had words with the brothers about their actions, but at the same time, one mistake is not unforgivable. They show a lot of promise, and they have previously proven themselves. In part, it was why I was not okay with, that's probably not the correct term, but willing to allow Alexandre to roam the city with just Lucas and not myself. I feel bad, though. I had promised her I would not do that until she was comfortable with the brothers. But my fear was that of all of us, I am the most obvious across a crowd. I am the one that stands out. My presence would simply draw attention that would potentially otherwise be avoided if I were not there. I also needed to know how close the danger was. Spider's contact was very useful in that regard, and I had considered that there might be a chance, if there was only a few after us at the moment, that we could dissuade them from pursuing us further, but half a dozen people at the moment seems like it has tipped the scale a little too far. We will need to consider what we do so that we can remain safe, whether that is doing a job for Aquilian or if it is convincing a captain to leave sooner than they had planned. We need to take action. We need to take steps.
Okay, Spider, what's your opinion on all this?
Look, the last 24 hours have maybe not been my finest.
Maybe.
I got a little carried away trying to prove myself to the crew, and forgot somewhat about my limited capacity for spirits. And it seems I may have exposed the other members of the group to some scrutiny here in the city, which is not ideal, given that we were trying to be incognito. So I'm trying to make it up to them. I have kindly offered to conduct the aforementioned heist and use it as trade in barter for perhaps a safe haven amongst Equidian's people, given that he seems somewhat removed from the money-hungrier side of the underworld in the city.
Mm-hmm.
seems like the kind of man who trades in favors, and that's what we need right now.
Seems to make sense to me. All right. It's according to my notes, it is the afternoon of the 2nd. For those of you who haven't been following the calendar, by the way, there's a major Pacific holiday coming. So yeah, today is today's the it's actually, sorry, today's the 3rd. So the 6th and the 7th, in 3 days, essentially 3 and 4 days, is the Fisher celebration. The name is actually sort of what it says on the name is sort of representative of the contents of the tin. The Confederacy is primarily a maritime nation. There's a bloody great mountain range that runs right down the middle of the country, which makes getting around east to west really bloody awkward. And while there are mountain passes and things like that, a lot of communications and travel within the Confederacy is done by ship. And as a maritime nation, therefore, one of its primary food sources is fishing. And anybody who knows fishing communities knows that it is, well, bluntly, it's a miserable, dangerous job. At any level of technology or magic, it's a miserable and dangerous job. And so, yeah, there's a 2-day celebration, basically, which they across the Confederacy, which is sort of the beginning of the acknowledged beginning of the spring fishing season for the ships and crews that go out into the that do offshore fishing. And so now you guys are inland substantially, like I think it's 12 kilometers or something like that. So it's unlikely that there's a substantial deep water fishing fleet here. But the celebration will be the celebration will be felt here anyway, just because, well, it's a civic holiday. You know, things like that across the Confederacy are civic holidays. So, yeah. So what that basically means is that there's going to be about 2 days where nothing in this town is getting done. So that gives you basically 2 days, the rest of the afternoon today, and then a couple more days before basically there's not a lot to be done. So that's, it's not really a wall, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's just I wanted you guys to be aware of it in case you're making plans and then only to suddenly find out that there's a 2-day party running in the middle of when you guys are trying to do something like sneak through an alley.
Sounds like the best time to be sneaking through an alley, really.
Like I say, as long as it's in the play. Spider's big on plans, and I wouldn't want him to be surprised.
Since when?
He didn't say he was big on good plans.
Oh.
Hey, I'm big on plans that I can pull off. I'm still working on, correctly evaluating your skill sets.
The shotgun approach to plans.
Why not just ask?
Enough of them go out.
Today's, I just double checked, today's the 3rd. So you guys arrived yesterday, which was the 2nd, and today will be the 3rd. So it's the afternoon. What is the cunning plan for the afternoon?
Well, we sort of uncovered quite a lot of information about the history of this city last week.
Yeah.
And
I think calling it information is probably overstating some of it. I think there's a lot of well-grounded suspicions is a better way of putting it.
That's fair. I mean, we did discover information about the history of the city, but certainly suspicions about what that means about its current place.
Yes.
And especially the people we're working with or could potentially work with. They both the families involved in this heist, both the patron and the victim, seem to be part of I hesitate to call them a faction, but like a group of families who seem more dedicated to like the old history of the city than its Confederate present.
Now, as children of the Confederacy, how do you all feel about that idea?
That's actually a really good question for me. Because we had that interesting discussion last week about like how, specifically about how Spider feels about the Confederacy. Mm-hmm. And I think he's incredibly cynical about the Confederacy as it exists and incredibly idealistic about it as a potential, like as as an idea.
Yeah.
And so
Yes, I, particularly from Spider's perspective, I can see how he'd be of the opinion that the promise has fallen short on the delivery.
yeah, but so if these old families are like more interested in like the kind of aristocracy that isn't based on merit or goodness, etc., then it's probably a bit rankling, personally.
Okay.
Until we got here, I don't think Alexandria really considered that there was another way of being.
Of course not. Why would she? It's all she would have known.
Yeah. Why would there be another way? Tell me another way to live. No, I don't think she ever considered it. I just don't think it was there.
Interesting.
So now for her, it's just like a, huh? Why, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why would you not want to change your name? But at the same time, her family hasn't. So, okay, cool. Don't do that if you don't want to. She doesn't see why anyone should be forced to do anything. But then, you know, she's also a teenager and doesn't like being forced to do anything. So, like, treat others how you want to be treated, kind of is the general rule.
Yes, doesn't want to be forced to do anything, is out traveling with her mechanical uncle. What?
Yeah. Yes.
By the way, for those of you who don't, I've been messing around with World Anvil's family tree, and so the only way I could make Chevalier make sense within the concept of the group was that mechanically, because of course, for lack of a better way of putting it, when Chevalier and the Anvil Heart Company had returned, Chevalier was not a citizen of the Confederacy. He was effectively an object. He was property. This sort of thing would have driven Elena absolutely nuts, and so to legitimize him as a person, she adopted him. Which means technically Chevalier works out as Alexandria's uncle.
It's Uncle V, not just V.
It's like
It was one of those things that came out of that wound up a little bit of background and world building as I was working out the family tree, looking at this, going, so yeah, I can, because the whole idea is that Chevalier is and the results of that expedition to the Sky Anvil Plains. Interestingly enough, coincidentally following in the footsteps of the original Lucas Edgewater, is what sort of catapulted the Donahue from an otherwise inconsequential family into one of the rising star families of the meritocracy. There was, of course, the tremendous friction and problems caused by, from the Confederacy's perspective, Chevalier as property represented a quantum leap in anything that might be accessible in terms of magical machinations. And so they literally just expected Elena to turn him over for the equivalent of magical dissection to figure out how he worked so he could build more.
it only just occurred to me now as we're talking through, but I'm highly amused that both my due respite characters got adopted within like the same like week of each other in their respective games.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a moment in our last Paddington Prowler game.
Gotcha.
But I've had and like feel free to veto it. But my headcanon has always been that when they came up and they're like, well, we need to experiment on your robot. We need to work out how it works. And I just always imagine Elena being like, yeah, you can do any experiment you want on Chevalier if the entire science team has it done on them first. And then so there was a point that they got up to where they were like, we're gonna do this. It's like all right. And they're like, oh, okay. And then we got to the really like when we got into like, how much can we scratch his arm? All right, you first. And then eventually there's now in Shining Capital, there's a bunch of like scarred scientists. Who are just like, yeah, we got as much as we could, but once it got to like removing limbs and then seeing if they could be reattached, it was just like, nah. And it's like, we could do this with magic. It's like, no, you do it the way you're going to do it to him. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it never got as far as they wanted to.
Yeah. But her resistance to the idea of just outright surrendering Chevalier essentially as a national research project is part of what has caused Alexandre so much grief as a teenager, because not only is the Donadieu family nouveau riche, if you will, they're also Elena has the notoriety of having remained Sinryu in spite of having defied the greater good of the nation. Which is the reason, like I say, there's a lot of off-color commentary about how it is she's managed to do that. So, like I say, the only way I could make all of that background that we've sort of hashed up to this point make any sense whatsoever was, okay, so how does she get around all of this? Well, she adopts him. Because then he's a person.
I would love to see that conversation in the judiciary. I would like to adopt my son. I'm sorry, what?
What, you can't see the family resemblance? Well, it's like I'm sorry, madam, you can't adopt an adult.
I said adopting.
No, as far as we're aware, he's 2 years old.
He's 6 months old.
And then it's like, look, he's anywhere between 2 and the dawn of time, so, but arguably he's 2, so.
I'm just gonna say, well, yeah. So like I say, that's a thing now. If you go check the World Anvil website, I've been working on the family trees for the Edgewater and the W, and yes, this amusing piece of background fell out of it where Chevalier is Alexandre's uncle. So,
which, like, in terms of like thoughts about the current city, like for Chevalier, it's always been this like. The Confederacy is this sort of this amusing entity. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is a bizarre system that these people have come up with, but like ultimately he just sort of like, he ticks the boxes he needs to tick to sort of keep doing what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need to work, really. He doesn't need to sort of, like in terms of like base, hierarchy of needs, a bunch of them are just crossed out for him.
Yeah, there's no requirement.
So he's just sort of like,
doesn't matter if it rains on.
Yeah, when you don't need to eat or sleep or drink or
sleep, breathe,
particularly need shelter. It's like
it starts at socializing.
Yeah.
And so he's like, wait, so this is the form I need to sign so that I can just keep hanging? Yeah, right, okay. And so when it gets here, it's like, it is this sort of this, it's like the differences are interesting again, but it's sort of also just to that, it's particularly in the situation that we're in, it's more that sort of worry that we're like walking into a powder keg that we don't necessarily fully understand. And it's just sort of like, we could probably just avoid all that because like we don't know the extent of the. And it's like there's a lot of like old family feuds. It sounds like, and it's like there's a lot of like just bad blood in general. And it's like, hey, want to do some nefarious deeds within that structure? It's like,
Now that you
no,
mention it, no, yeah.
not like ideally.
I can't imagine why not, though. We're only going to be here for 2 weeks. We might as well get into some trouble.
you got to experience the local flavor, and the local flavor is blood feud. So let's go.
I mean, we may well have gotten ourselves into a blood feud, whether we meant to or not.
You mean Spider may have got us into a blood feud, whether
Hey,
or not.
Lucas might have got himself into a blood feud.
To be fair, that was.
It may have been my fault, but that's not really here nor there.
And Drew's not here to defend himself, so it's really.
That's it.
Yeah, let's just blame Drew. Blame him for everything.
Though he might be listening. Hi, Drew.
Hi,
Hey,
Drew.
Drew.
I was going to say, Michelle, much as I appreciate unexpected synergy between characters across campaigns, like Sam mentioned, being adopted twice in 1 week, I would appreciate if Spider doesn't become the champion of a god of war entangled in an eternal battle against a cosmic foe. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, people should check out Eternium Gate. That game's real sweet.
Hang on. Well, I guess I'll be rewriting that hunk of the plot. That's irritating.
Well-
It's just
That was Plan C, obviously. It's like,
If I could, if I could just have one father.
awkward. Awkward.
Well, I mean, Sage is about to become her own mother, I think. So
Yeah. If I could have one father and one mother, and they are one father and one mother, and always were and always will be, then
those
that
could be 3 distinct people.
Something time travel awkward. What?
Oh man.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's
The best
not-
line that came out of that game was, "Don't worry about the paradox, my dear."
Let's also, at this point, let's not use time travel to solve our problems. Like, let's just keep going. We'll get to Baseldorf. It's fine.
Oh.
Right.
But we've already said that V is potentially from the dawn of time. So
Yes, but
And look, we don't need to go to his teenage years. It's fine. To
rebellious teenage
try and get back.
this city is not prepared for.
I am interested what we think, because I particularly because Chevalier wasn't amazingly sold on working for Aquidian. Like, he's not got a problem with the idea. He's just sort of like, it just seems.
Aquidian is
He doesn't. He's looking at like the cost benefit analysis and just being like, nah.
Well, I mean,
But,
like, what's interesting is if this was yesterday, Spider would have just gone and done it already, and like just said, "Hey, I got us a place to hide." But that conversation between V and the brothers, and then between me and Lucas, that hit home for Spider about like actually talking to the group, like not just doing what you think's best just because you think you're smarter than everyone else in the room.
I want to talk about this. I really do. I want to think about this. I really do. But I have a question, and if I don't say it, it will never happen. Could Alexandre have found out while we were searching through archives how old this city was, and whether there was any mention of a Donadu passing through?
Oh, fascinating question. Hang on a second. That's actually a really good question. One moment. Glitter Delta Cove. All right. Oops, wrong button. And then, okay. So originally the city. So this is actually stuff she would have been able to real fast. I'll actually just post. I'll read it out loud, but I'll also throw it in the chat in the Twitch chat for as reference material. And naturally, that is going to puke, because why wouldn't you, Twitch chat? I don't like you either. So 1 sec. That's the first 2 bits. And then... So these are major history events that she would have found out. So the city was originally founded about 180 years ago, as the free city of Val-d'Ochorai. About 30 years ago-ish, a plague went through the city. Up to, so that over the basically the 150-year gap in between, Val-d'Ochorai was pretty much a local powerhouse. Keep in mind, Glitter Delta Cove, as it is so named because of the fact that it's basically a free gem mine. The spring flood washes mineral-rich deposits down out of the mountains every year and scatters them over this wide plains area. That's got 2 effects. One is you can just sort of wander along through and sift out the topsoil and come up with gems per acre. And 2, by definition, that topsoil is incredibly rich mountain alluvial silt, which is, that's basically the reason the Nile is a breadbasket. So you've got everything. You've got the Alaska Gold Rush, and the Egyptian Nile all in one river system. So Val-d'Ochorai was an incredibly powerful free city for 150 years. Okay, and about 30 years ago-ish, a plague tore through the city, 10% kill rate. For those of you who don't understand what that means, for the Canadian military, if you take 10% kill rate, not casualties, but a 10% kill rate, they send the unit back to Canada, disband the unit, and send all the soldiers to different units to avoid the unit trauma and reform the unit from scratch. That's what 10% kill means. It is a
that's huge. 10% is like,
that is a spectacularly that is literal decimation in the Roman term of it.
What they're talking about, not to get too serious, but for a moment, like in terms of like coronavirus is what, a 0.3% kill rate or something.
Yeah, it depends.
Which they're talking about like acceptable casualties in America. Let's not.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into the ethical discussion, but
the mortality rate on the Black Plague was around 2%, for perspective.
Yeah, right. So 10% is extreme bad times.
Oddly enough, the city never recovered. And about 25 years ago, the city was purchased by the Confederacy under the policy of silver and steel. And then about 20 years ago, Alexandre and Lucas would have found reference to the Great Fire, mostly because of the property damage. So there's a couple of, and it literally destroyed about half the central area of the city. Essentially, the area inside the very nice octagon shape of streets was leveled, if you take a look at the map. So that's why it looks like you've got one city sitting inside another. When the Progress Confederacy rebuilt, it used their building styles to recreate the city core in the burned and destroyed area. All right. Now, given the fact that Lucas rolled so hysterically well last session, I'm even willing to say that you probably would have gotten wind of the fact that there are some that there is some mixed accounting as to whose fault that is. Some people blame the meritocracy as having done it on purpose as a brutal form of urban renewal, and then the meritocracy, the Confederate, is of the opinion that it has something to do with a group of terrorists who have been opposing Confederate rule.
But either way, there's a belief that it must have been deliberately set.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is there's more to it than that. This is a city, when you have a city that it was founded 180 years ago as a city, it existed probably for 50 to 70 years prior to that. So you're looking at a place that's been here in one form or another as a settlement since essentially the fall of the Giant Kid Empire. The records about what this place was during the Giant Kin Empire are completely inconclusive. You just Lucas rolled spectacularly well, but he didn't roll that well. So essentially, history starts post Giant Kin Empire. In fact, most of the record keeping specifically starts with the beginning of the city. But again, Lucas having rolled well, Alexandria helping him. Between the two of them, it just and what's Alexandria's learning stat?
0.
Okay.
Oh no, it's a 1.
Yeah.
No, she's got a 1.
All right. I was just going to say, that's one of those stats I think for Alexandria probably would want to consider raising going into the future, just because knowing stuff is part of, she's as given her family, she would be well educated. She's young.
I could probably take another one in that.
Yeah, like I say, it's
because we just got some.
Yeah.
I mean, we already know she drinks, so she should know things.
Yeah, completely agree. But yeah, so I think it would make sense to both of them that this place has been here for longer than the age of the city itself. In some other form. Like I say, it's at the heart of a huge breadbasket region. I think the total area is something like I remember it's a ridiculously large area. It's 6,000 square kilometers or something foolish. Yeah, 6,000 square kilometers. That's basically this massive prairie grasslands environment, which gets rejuvenated every spring by this massive flood. So, and Glitter Delta Cove, Valdel Sharai has been sitting in the center of it for basically since, the new history of the world has been written.
That's interesting. And so, any talk of a Donadieu?
I'm actually going, since you didn't ask that question last time, we didn't roll specifically for it. So I tell you what I'm going to do.
Yes.
Go ahead and throw some dice and let me know how you intend to find that out. Because keep in mind, something wanted poster. Hi, do you know anything about a Donadieu that might be my grandmother?
That's a fair point.
Well, it
Wouldn't
could
stop
go
her.
the roundabout way, though, because Lucas is there, right? And Lucas certainly would have asked the same questions about Grandpa Lucas. Mm-hmm. And there's no because we were operating on him just announcing himself as who he was at the thing. I think he could have asked the question for you, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Drew's not here, and
oh yeah, no, I'm not saying he should roll the dice, but
I'll tell you what, though, I think
it can be that thing of oh yeah, I also got this book about blah.
I think
you can have a look.
It's reasonable that Alexandria would get advantage on the roll. Essentially, Lucas lending assistance. So go ahead and roll with advantage 1 on that.
Mm-hmm. Learning?
Well, you
logic?
tell me what skill makes sense. This is the thing: is you can tell me essentially how she goes about asking a question, which is potentially a landmine. That was more the point I was raising. Was I'm not against you asking the question. What I want to know is how you're asking it, because ramifications of failure, for lack of a better way of putting it.
I mean, realistically, what she'd probably say is, oh no, she wouldn't. I was gonna try deception. No, she wouldn't deceive. That she just doesn't do that. She would probably be quite honest and be like, has there ever been someone with the name Donadieu passing through?
Okay. Keep in mind, and I just want to provide a little bit of context here. It's a city of, 10,000 people? 11,000 people? With a history of, roughly when it was. It was 50 years ago or something like that. Hang on a second here.
She's not asking a person on the street. She's asking
no, exactly. You're
someone in the
official records. But the question is basically whether or not your grandmother was the sort of person who would have left official record of her passing.
official? No. Unofficial, perhaps.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So
Were there any drinking games that have been recorded? Completed centurions twice over.
let's see here. 167.
It's like a pie eating contest photo or something, and you're like, oh, shit.
That would be literally
Come
50,
here.
that would be literally 50 years ago. Just double check the dates. So yeah, okay.
Possibly long.
Actually, no.
It depends if it was. It depends if it was at the beginning or the end of her
I
journey.
took a median. It's 217 right now,
fair.
and the Anvil Heart Company left in 166, came back in 168. So I just said, okay, what's 167, which is sort of in the middle of that as a range, and it turns out to be exactly 50 years, which tells you how I do my world building. Pick an even number, obscure by 3. So yeah. So yeah, it's about 50 years old. You're looking for one person who is now notable, but possibly wasn't then. So what sort of skills are you going to be using to delve into that?
I don't know. I didn't think about this when I queried. Isn't it just?
Yeah, that is one thing which
Would
is a little bit of getting used to with Open Legend is that the stats are the skills. And so if you're going to be asking a question, have in mind what stat you're going to be tying to your search for the answer. It takes some getting used to. As GM, I'm not used to thinking that way either.
I love games that do this.
Yeah.
This might be a bit left of field, but could she use creation or entropy? Because she's trying to use the song to give her
Okay, creation, channel higher
information.
powers, manifest something from nothing, regenerate, divinely bolster. Entropy, disintegrate matter, kill with a word.
disintegrate.
Create undead, sicken others. Unless you're trying
Not
to
so
scare
much that.
the.
More.
I'm not convinced that disintegrating someone will get you what you want.
I mean, it depends on what you want, but I agree with you. The
Some
use
kind
of
of
the
speak to
creation.
dead spell, but not in the library.
That you use
Yeah.
after disintegration.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's more in the world of the extraordinary focus than it is in terms of the entropy. But I was thinking more creation in terms of she's asking for guidance specifically from the song. She's not asking for guidance necessarily from the people, if that makes sense.
I think if that's where you're leaning, I think probably you'd be more into the window of prescience, because that is essentially that they say see the future, but I can also see that being view the past just as that is literally the act of knowing the unknowable is what prescience gives
Okay.
you.
It's the stand-in for divination and
Yeah. I was just going to say that it's one of those places where I can clearly tell they had one word in mind and said, oh, yes, except that's already used in the other game. So they've used something else. But so, yeah, if you're looking into extraordinary foci and things like that, I think probably prescience is I have problems channeling higher powers unless literally you want the song to answer the question. I'm not sure how creation fits. And entropy really is. Entropy is literally the dissolution of information. Entropy is the progress towards disorder.
So y'all, when we're leaving, I have a plan. Okay, cool. So prescience, I have no skill in.
Okay, well then, a good place to then. Yeah, what? Unless, if you want to lean hard on, if you're really leaning hard on getting the chanson to answer that question, then that's cool. But you're not obligated to roll prescience just because I think it's more appropriate.
I agree with you. I think that's how it should work.
Okay, very good.
So,
Well,
I'm gonna roll on that.
okay.
And that's an 11.
An 11. Okay, I think now let me just double check something. An 11 is quote an everyday challenge. And I would say that recording the passage of one particular individual out of a, at the time, otherwise unremarkable adventuring group 50 years ago doesn't qualify as an everyday task.
Yeah, and before she was famous.
And before she was famous, and asking an unknown being to give that answer,
Yeah,
or
I
lead to that answer.
Yeah, I think that's probably the sort of that's just the sort of milk toast roll. It's not going to get you anywhere. I think going again with this idea of yes, but, because that's an Open Legends thing, right? They discourage failure as an outcome for non-combat roles. Unless it's the GM. The GM fails absolutely or succeeds absolutely, but the players have got the option to fail. Go ahead, Jamie.
Sorry?
You were about to say something, Jamie?
I'm not sure if I was. I was just like, I don't know that the rules entirely discourage like failure in the sense that like some things you just like don't do, but what's interesting is about like, what does that failure mean, right?
Yeah.
Like Alexandra just reached out to an unknowable being for information and didn't get what she wanted. What did happen though? That's what I want to know.
And that's what I was just trying to suss out.
Yeah.
I think oddly enough, I think in fact what's going to happen is that she's actually going to have because obviously enough she's not going to be communing with the chanson in the middle of the public records hall. I think that's probably just going to be a little bit awkward. So it's probably going to be in a moment of contemplation, perhaps later that evening, or that later that morning after the very heated conversation. There'll be that moment of I wonder, and then she'll invoke the chanson, possibly while she's alone. And so what she's going to know is that there's going to have been a very strong sense that Equidian has an answer. That while the chanson is not willing to answer the question directly, she is aware that chanson may be able to, that the chanson seems to be prompting her towards Equidian.
Right.
I think that is, and it's going to be that awkward, it's not going to be a linear progression. She's going to go, oh, and nothing will happen, and then she'll be suddenly thinking about Equidian, and then going, wait a minute. And so, is that a connection or isn't it?
Yeah.
Particularly in the mind of of an adventurous teenager. Is that a lead or isn't it?
Maybe
indeed.
Maybe. Are we going to steal these urns then?
I am at your eternal service, princess.
You probably shouldn't say that.
I probably shouldn't, you're right. And I look at B and I'm like,
Put away a contract.
If you want it done, it'll be done. But I don't want, if you think it's too much trouble and you'd just rather go have a chat to that pain in the ass captain, then you be my guest.
I mean, I can do both. Both is an option?
It probably does not hurt to explore how viable that will be, convincing a ship captain, even though we have two options to leave early during this time.
Well, say no more. I will explore our options without committing us to any course of action.
Wait, but do we know what course of action we want to take?
We need to get more information.
What do
I
we
can
need
at
to
least
know?
scope out the potential.
I think the term is case the joint.
Listen, a professional such as myself would never. There's a big wink.
Right.
Right, indeed. So, what is the cunning plan then, ladies and gentlemen? You have an after.
Do we
so this
know?
This is a conversation roughly happening about lunchtime. So you have the entire afternoon before you.
When we, or when more specifically, when Alexandre was sort of sussing out which of the ship captains would be of use to us to get to Düsseldorf, and we were told that they'll both be leaving roughly 2 weeks from that point. Do we know roughly where they are, like in the docks, like where to find them again?
Sorry, folks. Windows is informing me that it's time to reboot my streaming machine for an important update. So I do apologize about the sudden loud.
We'll come back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, it's about
Take a break? Yep.
Well, yeah, 20 minutes later. No, just these sudden loud dings that are coming in on the audio every once in a while. Is the hey, pay attention to me? No, shut up. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
It's just because we were told, like, you know, those two, get the halfling and the lady, would be leaving for Düsseldorf in 2 weeks. They would be able to take us on. Will we then be like, hey, meet us at this, you know, Pier 6 dock, whatever? Or is it more sort of just like, we know which ship it is, we can find it when we need to?
I think it falls more into the category of you got ship names and captain names, and then, you know, if you care, then go find which one it is you want. I think is probably more the idea.
It might be an idea then for Mr. Kilcare to do what you need to do for that potential plan, while the rest of us I do not like the idea of going to the docks when we know that that is where the people that were looking for us are nearby. But we need to talk to the captains.
Perhaps we should all go then to case the joint. And
how much time do you think you would need, Mr. Kilcare?
Really depends on how gaudy our new friend is.
you're speaking in circles.
Yeah. If look, the easier the job's going to be, the easier the casing will be. If I get there and the place is a fortress, then we're going to need to do some extra research.
Why don't we all go together then to there? And then we can decide what to do once we get there.
I think it's a perfectly fine idea for us all to explore the area. I think perhaps together might be not the cleanest way to go about it. Perhaps we could be.
I would like to point out you don't know where it is. You're supposed
Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh, I thought you got the location.
No, you have a name.
Oh, so we know the name. We know the name, but not the.
Because you're supposed to contact Rachel Gray to find out if you're willing to even take the job on. And Rachel Gray, the only way you have a way of contacting her is via the bartender, who apparently get a message.
But we now know the name and like
We got a bit of information on the family.
family. So
You guys could do some of your own digging to figure out where the place is. But all you have right now is the name of the chap who's got the urn. But you don't know where he lives. You don't know practically anything about him other than the fact he's got a very odd last name.
I forgot about that.
It is, by the way, break time, and I've just noticed a message saying that Lucas would like to has arrived and wants to join in. So I think what we're going to do is take advantage of the break. Everyone go stretch your legs, fill up your coffee mugs and the rest. And when we come back, we'll have Lucas with us, and we can add him to the fun and games and continue playing. All right. So
perfect.
We'll be right back. And we're back, complete with a Drew. Hello, Drew.
Hey!
Hey! Look who decided to turn up.
Yeah, excellent addition to the show.
I mean, I was always going to turn up.
Yeah, just
That was always a thing.
Yes.
It's not like I forgot. I didn't forget.
Real life.
Even though my denial makes it sound like I did forget.
Yeah, it does now sound like you forgot.
I know.
real
You should
life
probably
thing.
stop.
I should stop denying.
Yeah.
Oh, awkward. How's everybody doing? I've been listening to you on the Twitch.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Yes, I have been, and it's great. I feel like I am up to date.
All right.
Yes, I'm not coming in ignorant, which is lovely.
That's a change, yeah. Excellent.
Unlike Lucas.
Unlike Lucas, Lucas would come in and just be like, "So, who am I stabbing, and what can I drink?"
Yeah.
But not drinking.
Well,
He's not drinking now. No.
well, yes, he
Correct.
can drink, just water, fruit juice. Yeah, that sort of thing.
He's on the sodas.
Into the sodas, absolutely. Where do you get fizzy water in a fantasy setting? Whatever you want, it's a fantasy setting. Bing!
Exactly. Somebody can make fizzy water. I'm sure Alexandria can make fizzy water.
Inappropriate.
Not for you.
Inappropriate.
Just
use of the
bubble the song through some.
The only way of making fizzy water that I could think of off the top of my head really fast was just farting into water, and
Oh,
she
that's
wouldn't
right,
do
you're
that.
Australian. I forgot that. Yeah, carry on then.
I kind of like, you know how. I know we're not meant to do product placement here, but you know the Schweppes whole thing where they were like,
Yes.
I imagine for some reason now, Chantal, that when you fart into it, it goes with the song as well.
All right, and that's a digression complete. So now we've got that out of the way.
I'm so glad you wore that collared shirt to raise the classiness of the stream.
Yep.
And naturally, that's going to be the only piece of this entire stream this week that gets clipped. We know that's how this works.
Look, I'm always here to raise the caliber of our conversations to something this classy and not based. So.
Glad someone
Sam's
is.
done. He's crippled. Good night.
That was beautiful.
All right, so something Alexandria Donadieu.
Oh, yeah. We were discussing how we're going to find out where this guy lives.
Yes.
And I think that's when I turn to Lucas and I say, well, we know his name and people know yours. Why don't you just ask?
Oh, that's awkward. Walk up to random strangers. Excuse me, do you know where Aliceem lives?
I do
I mean,
that.
that's pretty much what I'm suggesting.
No,
it's like, just
no.
go and talk to someone.
Alexandria didn't just immediately. No.
Yeah, Lucas goes to walk off.
No.
What? It was it sounded like a legit suggestion to me.
We can find out the information from Rachel Gray.
Rachel Gray?
Yes.
And that'll take us another day to find out, though.
What it doesn't
No, we
take
just
a walk to go.
But we
walk back.
We
can-
go back to the inn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the
That's
bartender has to get the message to her, which I can't imagine is a fast process.
So the alternative is to further expose ourselves?
Expose Lucas.
I'm already exposed. I mean, in
not be?
the metaphoric sense, not the. I'm Still wearing clothes.
Did we find anything out about like what their family does in the city? Like, are they?
You haven't asked. Literally, the only thing you've got a name.
We got the name.
Wait a minute, that name is weird, and you focused on the weird last name and really stopped.
And then we left.
Point.
We're
That's a
like
really
high
weird
schoolers
last name,
doing a
though.
research project. We found one fact and came back.
I'm literally a high schooler. I have an excuse.
Excuse me, I have a master's degree in lizard folk.
And yet we don't know. All right, I understand.
If you don't know, now you know.
Potentially, if we all go to the docks so that if anything goes wrong, we are not separated, and we discover how viable it will be to convince a ship captain to leave early, because if the answer is yes, potentially we do not need to do this job. If the answer is no, then we need to do the job one way or another, and we might as well get the information from Rachel.
Hooray.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's go to the docks.
Do you ever have that vague sensation, folks?
What?
And I'm talking to those folks watching on the VOD or currently on the live stream, that a really good plan is just not going to end well. As a GM, I have that plan. I have that feeling right now. Let's see what happens. Okay.
You're the
Well, I also have a bad idea about this plan. It's still,
Definitely don't think the answer is just like, let's just go to the docks now. Like,
no, I still want to go to the bar.
Yes, no,
And
I
say-
think if we're gonna go to the docks, we might as well drop past the inn anyway. The problem is like both of those areas are literally the most exposed in the city we could possibly be. The place where the bounty hunters are staying and the place where they know we were staying.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
keep in mind,
do you have a?
You lot are in a little bistro on the other side of town, nowhere near the
That's right. We went and found a very discreet place to chat.
yes.
and the song told us they don't know where we are at this moment,
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
or at the moment that
yeah.
Alexandre asked, which I guess was 15 minutes, an hour ago or something. I don't know.
It seems to me
Okay.
that the conversation was is that you folk were down around here somewhere.
It seems like we need to move fast.
If you all think that the best way for us to proceed on the heist is to leave a message for Rachel, I can go to the tavern. I'm fairly confident in my ability not to be tracked as long as I'm by myself.
I don't like the idea of us splitting up
Then,
right now.
well, what if you just stay here while I do that? It will take a little bit more time, but
That means we're splitting up still.
The flavor of splitting up.
Lucas,
Yes?
can you ever think of a time in your life where you wanted to find me and I didn't want you to, and you were able to?
Oh, every time.
I think you misunderstood what I said.
I mean, I just sent a letter and said, hey, Jasper, I'm on my way.
If you don't want me to leave, I won't leave. But I am very confident in my ability to slip in there without being noticed and
Alexander.
to not be found in this city.
There's one thing that I've learned about Jasper is that if he wants to find us, he will.
That's not the problem. The problem is if all of those bounty hunters find any one of us, then we are split.
I would definitely suggest that the three of you do not split up.
So just to answer a point of question that I just saw go by in the Zoom chat. So the instructions you were left by Rachel was that they weren't, or specifically by Aquidian,
Citrizal.
was that until you folk had decided you were taking the job, he wasn't telling you much more than the very thinnest issues about what it was, who and what. Because, well, it's a trust. Literally, this is the trust test. If you run around the city blabbing that Equidian wants his urn back from Amandi, that'll tell him everything he needs to know about you, Bunch, but it really hasn't exposed him to any danger. So the entire point of this is it's a trust test. So you've been given exactly enough to make a decision, and then you'll be given a little bit more information required, what you actually need to know to get the job done. Equidian doesn't expect you to run off and do this. He expects you to let him know whether or not you're going to take the job, and if you can keep your mouth shut about it. That's the point. So yes, you could.
Which is why I wanted to figure out the information without involving them again.
Yeah. So if you were to, almost implicitly by contacting Rachel and saying yes, we're going to do the job, and keep in mind that Rachel's is an homme de guerre, if you will. Then implicitly you'd get a message back with all the details you'd need, or what passes for the details they think you'd need. I think is probably a more accurate assessment. Just in case, but I just realized you guys were, based on a couple of comments going on in the Zoom chat, there was some, I think there was a bit of confusion about the actual setup here, if you will. But literally the point is that Equidian doesn't know how far he can trust you, has no reason to trust you at this point. So the first test is, can he trust you? So real simple break and enter job, can you keep your mouth shut? Yes? Excellent. Now we can talk about real work.
Jasper, what are we going to do while you're going to Rachel? Are we going to the docks? Or are we staying here?
Look, the problem is we're not going to get any more information out of the Ebon Elves unless we say we're going to do the job. And then if we don't do the job, well, we probably shouldn't do that.
Right, how long will it take for you to get back to the tavern and back here?
A plot appropriate amount of time.
Great, I'll see you then.
Thing is, if we're going back to the tavern to contact Rachel, that is to either confirm or excuse ourselves from the mission.
Which is why I was wondering whether we might find the location without their assistance.
Which is something I would normally be entirely in favor of, but at the moment we are under a bit of a time pressure.
To the docks then, I suppose.
No? What? How did we end up back at the docks?
Well, because we don't have any way to proceed with Equidian's request, and Chevalier doesn't want to indulge us, our group, in that request if we have the option of speeding up the captain. So we should just do that first.
Oh.
Yes?
Okay, let's go.
Yes. So you're all of you are trooping off to the docks ensemble.
Yeah, one sec. We should probably go the long way round through the lake of the ancestors, though. I'm not sure, Lucas, that you should be seen traveling through the center of town if we don't want to make a fuss.
I mean, definitely try to draw as little attention to ourselves as possible.
Lancium.
Yeah, Lancium. Look, word on the street is Lancium is looking for you.
Okay.
There are multiple people looking for us, and none of them we want to have find us.
I mean, I'm pretty
We are
certain
unfortunately
that I
quite
can handle
noticeable.
Lancium.
It's not about
look,
whether you can handle him.
I don't think there's any question, really, if you could handle him. It's just about if it's a more private affair, it might get more complicated.
Well, then I'll have to stay close to you in case he turns up.
So, when you say the long way around the Lake of Ancestors,
Because
It
we're
takes
in the
us 2
caravan
days,
bazaar,
2
right?
days to get to the docks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Well, you're up in this. Yeah, I think you were down. I think I had that in the wrong place. I think you were down, sort of in the neighborhood of, but not in the caravan area. You were basically at the equivalent of a small pub or bistro, not far.
Yeah.
I've realized, incidentally, by the way, it's a little quirk of World Anvil that moving the token doesn't actually update it for anybody else. It only updates it for the individual moving the token. So what that means is I've of course lost the position of the token as pertains to, well, because I was doing it on the GM screen. So anyway, so I think so I'm going to retroactively say you've always been about where that little red token is now, and we'll just have to go by the version that's on the that I'm using on the stream account. So that's
Yeah.
right.
So I guess what all I'm suggesting is that we don't go through the Great Market, the Guild
Yeah.
districts.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Yeah, I mean, so essentially you guys are going to head south and then sort of cut around and follow the windy road up into the docks area, right?
Something like that, yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be a half an hour walk, not much more than that. I mean, keep in mind, distance-wise, it's you know, it's a single reason it's going to take you that long is just because the place is busy. Like, again, because of the time of year, the streets are packed. And particularly anything heading towards, you know, in or out of one of the main axes of the city is just going to be super busy with caravan traffic and that sort of thing. So it's not that it's a huge distance, it's just that there's a crowd all the time. All right? So you will find yourselves, without any difficulty, able to, get your way to this area.
I just want to make a point of saying that Spider's not going to walk with them.
All right.
Not splitting the party, but is going to, you know, walk at a
Following
10-foot,
along,
15-foot remove.
Yeah, exactly. Following along, if you will. Yeah, you are shadowing the party as opposed to traveling with them.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. All right, so you will arrive in the Docks District, like I say, after about an hour's worth, half an hour's worth of walk. My apologies. And yeah, so
Michelle.
yes.
I would very much like to keep an eye out in case we're being followed, in case, you know, all of those things.
Sure, I'll tell you what, go ahead and, because you sort of have a half an hour and we're talking about a collective impression, as it were, go ahead and roll go ahead and make a roll with advantage 1.
Okay.
I would guess, yeah, I mean, perception's the obvious one there.
It's perception, yeah, already. Oof.
Oh.
Great, 11.
11. Well, there's probably going to be at some point a moment of irritation where you realize that Spider's run off on the group. But, you know, other than that.
There it goes again.
You know, yeah, an 11 is, quote, an everyday sort of challenge rating, and I don't think spotting a professional tail is going to be an everyday sort of thing. So, yeah, Spider is functionally invisible, as is whoever might be following you. So, yeah.
Can I
Lucas,
keep an...
but like I say, Lucas is of the opinion that no one's really expressing an interest in the group.
Right.
Could I keep an eye out for, like, how much attention's being paid to us? I don't care if, well, it's not that I don't care, but Alexandria wouldn't really consider that someone is following, but she would consider whether people are watching.
Right. Okay, I think that still winds up a perception roll. Yeah.
It's still perception, yeah, but a different kind of perception.
Yeah, you're judging social reaction as opposed to. Yeah, sorry. I've made myself sort of a GM's screen for Open Legend, so I was just double checking the list of attributes to make sure I've got the right one.
16.
16. And again, that would be with advantage 1 because we're talking about a half an hour walk.
Oh.
So go ahead and.
Let's see. The 16.
16, very good. A 16 categorizes in as a challenging chest, and I think it's perfectly reasonable to. So, There's a few people who are noticing Lucas. Chevalier. Are you still a warborg in a trench coat, or are you just being Chevalier?
No, we're in a trench coat.
All right. So do me a favor and roll a deception check, would you?
Be in a trench coat.
That's 2.
A 2. Yeah, so the mustache fell off some time ago, and that's blown your disguise.
Tied the whole look together.
It did. I mean, whether or not anyone recognizes Chevalier is hard to determine, but literally, if you scan the crowd, this is what it looks like. That bump is Chevalier. And so just by relative bulk, he's attracting attention. It's like, there's a lot of people who turn around because they're getting jostled and they're looking at they're looking at the middle of a drover's coat. It's like when you're looking I'm 5'10". I'm a tall guy by fantasy standards, and that's someone's chest. I'm stepping out of the way right now, sir.
Right.
If you've ever met a professional basketball player, I know this feeling.
Yeah, it's and so just Chevalier's even if Chevalier wasn't notable in terms of literal history, his literal mass is causing a stir. And then there's a few people who clearly are pointing about Lucas. Few and far between though, and they all seem to be well dressed.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Common folk are more noticing Chevalier. The well-dressed folk are more noticing Lucas. Is the best way of explaining what you're seeing over the half an hour.
Good to know. Thank you.
No problem. All right. You folk will arrive in the docks district without any concern or hindrance. And yeah. So the idea is to ask around, find out where the ships are parked. And then go from there, yes?
We're looking for the hot captain, aren't we?
Or the halflings, like, essentially, either one, if either one is willing to take us sooner.
Yeah.
So we can just not be in the city.
Right.
Hang on, did we come to the conclusion that all the captains are hot?
No.
Yeah, I mean, all the halflings are definitely hot.
Yeah. Like
If I recall
the hot
correctly,
captains
it was-
are 10,
yeah.
but the halflings are all like an 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So the
Well,
it's
I mean,
both
like
a
they're
lot.
halflings, they're all
versus-
5s. They're just 5s out of 5.
They're 4.5 out of 5, but there's like a lot of them.
I love that because they're halflings, their scale is to half.
All the adults. All right. Yeah, so that is Pharaoh, I think. I'm just double.
Mia?
Yeah, just one moment here. I'm just double checking. Open.
Is no one going to pay that? No one?
I didn't hear it.
Well, I said
Oh,
Mia.
you don't get it.
No, I don't. No.
Oh, you're not getting it. I'm not giving that to you. You can't have it. No.
Come on.
I'll pay most
No.
things, so you should probably repeat it.
Oh,
No.
he said Pharaoh, and I said, is it Mia?
Oh,
Come on.
See?
oh that's
Still
rough
no.
even for me.
Yeah. See.
Can that
Like,
one
even
look,
on a repeat, it took me a little while, and I'm just like,
can that one look like Mia Pharaoh?
That is, I mean, look, we were talking about hot halflings, so.
Yeah. I like the idea that halflings are exactly the same size and proportion, just smaller. Like that's how they are,
I'm
right?
just going to say, I've always. This is actually one of the things about having to sort of reinvent my own worldview, as it were, is that I sort of have a little bit more room to play with what the races actually are, which is why I've done a few things. Like I've decided that the dark elves, the dark elves aren't evil. They're just. The reason nobody particularly likes them is because they just literally sat out the entire Empire of Giants period. Why? Because 300 meters of rock.
Yeah. It's very easy to, like, ignore everything else going on if you live underground.
Yeah. So just a second.
I like the idea that like they're not liked because once a Christmas card was sent and they didn't reply. Or something.
So one second here. I'm trying to find supporting cast. There we go. And chapter 1. Yeah, I have the names of the two ship captains written down. You bloody well think I can find them right now. Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts. Anyway, yes, I know who there's a human captain who told off Spider.
Ranta.
Avrat or something. Got it.
Yeah.
And Andwise was the halfling.
Yes, thank you. So
I take notes.
yeah, well, yeah, so do I. It's just that then I can't find.
No, I meant I was just proud of myself that I could find them because I can always write them.
So yeah. Yeah, gosh, that drives me nuts. So you're going to be able to find the two ships and crew, the two ships and captains. In the case of Rhonda, she's actually not going to be at the ship when you're there, but will be willing. But second, the sort of first mate's willing to chat with you a bit and sort of give you a rough idea. What you'll find out there is that, bluntly, it'd be a massive hit to the pocketbook if they were to leave a week early. So he can't imagine she'd agree to it unless you basically were willing to pony up the difference. Because literally the reason they're in port right now is to take advantage, is to spend the 2 weeks speculative trading, pack the hold full of all the goodies that have come in from all of the caravans that are being traded over in the caravan district, take that cherry list and run it up and down the entire east coast of the continent and sell it where they can maximize the money. So if you ask them to leave a week early, you're basically asking them to miss out on a week's worth of trading opportunities. That's a lot of money.
What would she say to letting it be known, as it were, that
like I say,
there
you're
were
talking-
extra people on board when she does go?
Well, again, you're talking to the first mate. And hang on a second. Pull up a sheet. Come on now, don't do that. His name's Askar. Askar Upcliffe. And Askar will gosh, driving myself batty here. Hello, where did I put it? There we are. Yeah, the ship is called the Spray Eagle, by the way, and Askar is the first mate. So, yeah, Askar will tell you that, Avronta's blunt as he puts it. Avronta is not known for running the most legally upstanding operation, and has won more than her fair share of crooked poker games. So yeah, if it's useful to spread a rumor, you can't imagine she wouldn't. But again, part of the point is that one of the and again, out of care as a GM reminder, one of the reasons you wound up picking this ship, in addition to the fact that Avranta is feisty and cute, is the fact that it's a mixed ship. In other words, it's going to be moving as many passengers as cargo. It's just not going to be you and 20 tons of cargo showing up at the other end. It's going to be 20 passengers and 20 tons of cargo showing up at the other end, which makes it much easier to hide. So it almost automatically there's going to be other people on board.
I wonder what price she might ask of our dear Alexandri to do a small favor such as that.
I mean, why do you say it like that? That's very strange.
I wasn't the one flirting my boots off up and down this
boots are
very
very
pier
much
a
on.
few days ago.
Given that, money is a bit more nebulous in Open Legend,
So
when it turns out making up the difference, what is that in a wealth level perspective?
mechanically, you would all have to essentially make a dice check on your wealth level, and if you fail the DC, you permanently lose a level of wealth. In other words, you beggar yourselves out of your reserves trying to meet the price. Now, there's a chance that coincidentally you'll have enough money in the pocket that it won't hurt too much, but it'll be on an individual basis. D20.
Yeah, I'm guessing like the difference on an entire trading ship for wealth level 2 characters, it's going to be rough.
It will not be it will be a non-trivial GC. Let's put it that way. You run very.
We'll be working on ships for a long time to pay that back.
You'll be running the risk of arriving in Dusseldorf, basically unable to afford the inn.
Unless we were to get money another way.
Unless you were to get money another way. Or perhaps somebody who owed a favor to somebody, etc., able to cover that off for you. Yes, etc. But I can't imagine how you might do that.
No.
How would we do that?
Unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we made it to the docks.
I think we got our answer.
Okay.
Should we find Rachel?
Yes.
Are we in then?
I think we.
Don't think there's another option.
What we can do, we can do as much as we can. Maybe earn a lot of money to pay off this ship captain, and then at least sail out a few days earlier.
Now,
Okay.
the GM is going to point out probably. I'm sure that y'all know this, but I'm pointing it out anyway. It's the spring flood. There is a ton of mercantile activity going on in the city right now. The snows have just melted out of the mountains, which means that the entire mountain area is now open for exploration. There's entirely likely to be other work available if if the idea of doing something dubiously illegal for Aquidian, or involving yourselves in a faction brawl, whatever Aquidian happens to be involved in is sitting badly with you. Casting about for other work that may not taste so bad, including just straight up maybe caravan escort. Literally, one of the things that comes with a massive flood like this is the mountains literally change shape every year. There's a whole bunch of other work you can likely find to do.
I just have an image of Alexandre doing manual labor.
I more had an image of all of us deciding to just go panning.
I did. I was like, can we go sift through the silty soil and find as many gems as we can while trying to stay unnoticed? And I imagine these 4 people just out on the mud flats, just like.
The biggest thing
Complaining.
is that none of you have any idea what's involved in that. But for lack of a better way of putting it, if you guys wanted to dig into that, excuse the pun, yes, you could. The problem is you've as your characters, you've no idea how to even get started.
Oh, how
Alexandre
hard
has
can it be?
seen enough. She's seen enough mud.
Yeah, she's seen
and
enough
swamp
people digging in the garden in a garden before that she knows exactly how panning for gems would work.
No, I literally meant it the opposite way round. She's seen enough swamp. She doesn't want more swamp. So she's going to avoid that.
I feel
despite
how
hilarious
hard
it
could
be.
panning be? Is this like no? It's a real skill, and it's not. I mean,
These are all great ideas.
yeah.
None of them would occur to Spider. So if you guys want to do anything other than crime,
Yeah, his point of view is a little limited.
Yeah.
Say.
the crime, and to be fair, the crime isn't my problem. I don't have a problem. It's more it's the hitching our wagon to a faction when we don't understand what the conflict is.
Just want
I understand that concern, but I also think we're not going to be in this city long enough to really suffer the consequences of our choices. But
ever
I
plan
hope.
to go home?
home.
Yes. No.
Eventually, sure.
So
There was a
going to have to-
hesitation there.
I mean, you lot have homes to go to, so I guess it makes sense that you would consider that. If I'm going to go back to the capital, I'm going to need a crap load of capital.
Jasper, you have a home at the capital.
It's more complicated than that.
Complicated, yes. But you always have a home there. Let's go find Rachel.
I think if we had more time, perhaps we could look for a different job, explore our options. But time is limited, and Aquidian's offer is already mostly set up. It might just be the simplest. We just do this work, get out of the city. This is not where our destinies are, after all. Let's message Rachel.
I'm still not convinced that the three of you should be seen at that inn.
Going to have to go back there because we sleep there.
Well, and all
I don't think we should do that anymore. That's the whole point of this exercise.
The good news, I mean, statement of the obvious, something that all of you know, is just because there is an adventurer inn doesn't mean there aren't about 70. It's a city of 11,000 people. There are going to be pub and bed houses all across the place of varying degrees of wealth. So, yeah, the fact that you're in a bistro right now doesn't mean that just down the street there isn't another P&B house. So the biggest concern you have right now is that when you left this morning, you left all your stuff, if you will, back at the Blue Sky. You at least have to go back and collect all your belongings before you relocate into another inn.
Someone does.
Yes, someone's going to have to take that job on.
I would suggest that the person with the untrackable feet should be the person that does that. That's all.
It's a lot to carry with an untrackable feet.
Can this person who, if I remember correctly, has 0 might, carry 4 people's worth of stuff?
I mean, I think you're being a little discriminatory based on stats there, really.
Do have a point.
1 point.
I cannot probably carry even the clothes that Lucas is wearing, so...
Say, with Might 0, I would suggest it's not going to take him 4 trips, but probably 5 trips to bring everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I might give up before then.
That's 5 untrackable trips.
Chances are Lucas carried all of Jasper's gear too.
Yeah.
I just don't have much gear. I have like some costumes. That's about it.
Well, admittedly, in
And a tent.
Chevalier's gear is a trench coat, a mustache, and a hat. So I mean, he doesn't really carry much else.
Yeah, okay. You have a good point. I forgot that all our stuff was there. That's a problem.
That's the point that I've been going on this entire time.
Well, I never heard you say that. I just...
No, because you never let me.
in our defense, we didn't listen.
Oh, hang on a second. The three guys didn't listen to what the girl's been.
Whoa.
Who knew?
I was just gonna say, next thing you won't be asking.
On the one hand, hey now. On the other hand, yeah.
Next thing is it'll be directions, right? I mean,
Where is it?
Which would actually be doubly funny, given that the Alexandriax has a literal like line connecting her to a point.
Yes. I am a compass.
All right. Okay. You're right. We can't avoid going back there.
Nope.
Can I at least scope out the area first before the rest of you come in?
Oh, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
okay. So the idea is that Spider's going back to the blue sky, sniffing around to find out if the place has been enringed by heavy artillery and bounty hunters. And presuming that's not the case, we'll come back and tell everyone that it's safe. Yes.
Well, I mean, regardless of whether it's the case or not, I will be coming back to tell them what the situation is. Yeah.
Right. So
To be fair, given the clientele, it's bounty hunters that are after us. Just general bounty hunters.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
right then. Okay, because I'm sure that's not awkward at all. And I'm going to. The GM is going to ask the obvious plan. What happens if Spider fails his perception check?
Well, I mean, that's up to you. The consequences of my failure are in your hands.
Oh, goody. Right then.
I mean,
I mean,
if he's not back within a plot appropriate amount of time, we wait another plot appropriate amount of time, and if he's still not back, we go in.
Right. Plot appropriate checks it is. So I'm gonna ask So hang on a second here while I've got to put a mouse on this machine.
I wonder what is plot inappropriate?
2 to 3 minutes. You can't even sit there that much time. So the party is going to be posted up at a little drinking establishment about halfway there with an easy access and not too far away from the Blue Sky Inn. And then I'm going to ask Spider to make a couple of die rolls for me. And so I think what is reasonable, tell me if you have other ideas, is I think probably I'm going to need a perception check, a deception check, and then an agility check.
What's the agility for?
Basically getting in and getting out, rooftop to rooftop, etc., etc. If you're at the more you are at ground level, you've got two options: take a higher DC and not have to on your deception, or take a lower DC but have to roll agility to represent the fact that you're not doing this at ground level. You're hanging off of the ship.
No, I think that's absolutely the way I'll go about it. Is I'll go to the rooftops and I'm going to try and swing in through an open window, and then because I'm disguised, try and get the message to Rachel without. No, I don't even need that, right? I just need to. The idea is this is a scope mission,
Right.
So I'm not actually sure if I need to do the deception stuff at this stage. I think it's about agility and then perception.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I want you to make the deception check, because if there are bounty hunters, the question is if they see you or not.
Oh, right. This is just deception as. So agility covers move with stealth, if that's what you're talking about.
Oh, very good then. Then you don't need to do the deception check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do two separate agility checks if you want it to be about moving with stealth and then doing the acrobatics.
No. I was just gonna say I think it's actually yes, actually, yeah. Do two agility checks. Well, the first one is going to be moving with stealth. The second will be the rooftop to rooftop routine without falling to an untimely and plot inappropriate demise. And then perception.
Now,
if there's anything that's worth seeing.
I have both climbing and the Great Leap feat.
All right.
I'm just checking.
All right.
I just want to check if that gives me like an advantage here before I roll.
Yep.
So Great Leap allows me to use movement or agility instead of might when determining how far I can jump, and I gain advantage 1 per tier on action rolls to jump,
All right.
etc. And then climbing is I can move the same speed vertically as I can horizontally as long as there's something to
Between the
climb.
two, I'm willing to give you advantage 1 on the.
I think that seems fair.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable between the two.
Okay, so that's agility. Oh, and then I have skill specialization agility 1, so I get 1 extra advantage.
Nice.
Does he get an extra advantage if the whole time he's shouting parkour?
I feel like
Yes, he does, but it negatively affects his perception check
yeah.
and his stealth.
I feel like it gives me a disadvantage, but I might get a legend point. I won't yell parkour, but I'll be thinking it.
Yeah.
Okay, and I drop the 2 lowest, so I got a 5 and an exploding 6.
Nice.
That's 11, 21, 23 is the total.
Rockin'. Yeah, okay, no problem at all. 21 is well into the realm of heroic, I think. 20 is heroic, yes. So, yeah, that's just you climb smooth surfaces, leap 15-foot gaps, etc., etc. Yeah, you're just basically.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's the classic sort of like ninja parkour.
Exactly, up-angled cameras over massive gaps and things like that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, so you'll be able to basically move around the area without, like I say, plunging to a plot inappropriate early demise. So then becomes the question about whether or not they see you in the process of you doing all of your acrobatics.
Whether they see me. So this is the stealth check?
Yes.
Okay. Let's use. Oh, nope. Oh, didn't mean to drop that. Oh, goodness. Okay. That's. 15.
15. That's a challenging roll.
Yeah, I mean, I have agility 5 for a reason.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Okay. Cool. Now this is one of these places where, as a GM, agility. So essentially, a move with stealth of 15 means your common layperson is not going to see you. Just automatically, they can't roll that. So
on top of that, I mean, it's up to you how this tracks in. But my other feat is the untrackable feat, which is, I will read it word for word so that I'm not paraphrasing. Where are feats?
Featsy thingies.
LMNP, untrackable. Whether this power manifests here. Effect. Your travel is veiled by special means that conceal your tracks and any evidence of your passage, even after you're far away. It's impossible to follow your tracks except by extraordinary means. I suppose this is not tracking so much as spotting me coming in.
Exactly. So this is one of these places where, as someone who's done D&D for a very long time, I sort of have this automatic compulsion to ask you to make die rolls that don't make a difference. In Open Legend, however, we don't do that, so you don't need to make a perception check. There aren't any bounty hunters here.
Oh, okay, cool.
For lack of a better way of putting it, just the process of you getting in, looking around, you don't cause a stir. You don't wind up with circumstances where there's a whole crowd pointing at at Batman leaping from roof to roof, sort of thing. And since you avoid all of those perils, you don't need to make a perception check. There's nothing. There's no threat to perceive.
Okay. All right. Cool.
It's actually one of those interesting things that, like I say, with D&D, you're sort of encouraged to force die rolls all the time, whether or not they're relevant, to mask which ones are relevant. In Open Legends, they straight up say don't do that.
No, because like the thing is, if I just roll badly on that agility, you could just change your mind. You could use the consequence of my failure to be they are there, and that's I love that. Okay, cool. Well, in that case,
so you will spend a plot-appropriate amount of time checking the area around, sniffing, looking for anything that looks, for lack of a better way of putting it, looking for anything that looks like you or several of your friends back in Shining Capital looking for you. And since you don't find anyone that looks like you, other than, the usual bunch at the bar having drinks, because, adventurer bar, but no, there's no one actively hunting, if you will, in the area.
then Would we have scouted out another inn somewhere nearby, like that we can move to?
You haven't mentioned it.
We're in one.
Yeah, but we need to.
You're in a bistro.
The whole point is we're getting our stuff and moving.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I won't leave the message for Rachel in advance. I'm going to then, convinced of my scoping things out, I'm just going to leave via the front door, given that I'm disguised as someone different anyway.
Yep, totally reasonable.
And I'll make my way back to the group and
Okay.
pass on the information.
All right. So,
What have we been doing?
I was going to say the same thing. I imagined like we got out Uno and just played cards or something. Like,
Just keeps playing from this intense like music and watching the spider like leap nimbly from rooftop to rooftop and like darting through shadows, and then just cuts back to the three of us going, "Do you have a 4?"
Go fish.
So yeah, it's entirely up to you three what you want to be doing, because he's going to be gone for, like I say, it's travel time is non-trivial even over short distances. Spider moving by himself moves a lot faster than everybody else simply because he's available. He has the option of simply not involving or taking routes that don't involve traffic. And even if he does encounter traffic, it's sort of, amongst people like Spider, we just all pretend we don't see each other. So
He's taking the thieves' highway.
exactly.
Yeah.
So for the rest of you, however, you probably got a minimum half an hour of, presuming it takes him 10, 15 minutes to get around there, 10, 15 minutes to sniff around, 10, 15 minutes to get back to you, which would sort of be minimum diligence and minimum travel times. You've got almost an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of just sitting in this bistro. Now, the food's really good. The music isn't bad, but
I do have something that I want to ask Lucas, but I actually feel like it would start an entire conversation, so we should probably take a break first.
I was just going to say, we are top of the hour, so it's a good time to do that. Then we'll come back with Alexandri rearranging Lucas's reality. I mean, asking questions. So,
Sorry, what was that about disintegrating people?
something entropy what?
okay.
All right.
And this is where Lucas dies. Yeah. From, I don't know what question, from hard questions. Here we go.
All right. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. 3 to 5 minute breaks. Literally depends how long it takes the kettle to boil so I can refill my tea. And then we'll be back. So cheers.
All right.
So Alexandri had some talking to do, I see. It seems to me.
Yes.
All right.
Is this
Who
while
knew?
we're playing cards?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Lucas, what did you mean by Spider as a home?
Well, he's always welcome home. To my home.
Does that have something to do with the fact that your mother would be concerned about him?
Jasper, for the past number of years, has not been living with us. My mother, his mother, and I have been, well, making sure that he has been okay. And when I say he's welcome home, I welcome him home.
Question now, based on that. I, Chantel, and presumably Alexandre are under the impression that Spider is an Edgewater bastard through the father.
That was well, I was just going to say that was sort of what's been discussed the whole way around so far, but yeah.
Just wanted to check that I'm not
That's
misremembering.
No, that's the way it's been phrased in the past as far as I recall it. Yeah.
I see.
Now, one of those things I do want to be completely clear on, because of the nature of meritocracy, mistresses and liaisons and that sort of thing are not considered social faux pas. Getting caught is it's one of those things that as long as you don't make a spectacle out of anyone and nobody gets hurt, nobody cares, because what everyone actually cares about is how well you do your job. What your social circumstance are in private has nothing to do with your public value, if you were. So, a bastard son or a bastard daughter from either the father or the mother isn't a social problem per se. It's a thing that just comes out of a society that functions that way. Where you get into trouble is not taking care of your responsibilities as you were. So if there would be, it wouldn't be a scandal if Jasper was a bastard via the mother. It would be a scandal if the family didn't take care of him.
Yeah, but that's also not why I was asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the social aspect of it, because particularly for the benefit of the audience as much as anything else, because there is that tendency to view, because you've seen an incredibly harsh reaction from an NPC about the whole bastardy thing. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that from the perspective, particularly Alexandre's social circles, it's almost a non-issue.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask Drew, was that a deliberate thing that you said?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking on that. I thought it was... Is Spider a bastard?
They are his words.
What does that mean?
He's my brother. I consider him family. I consider him as much my brother as my sister is my sister. Alexandre, the Edgewaters. My father is a ruthless man. And has a very strange way of showing affection. The thing you need to understand about Jasper is all Jasper wanted was affection. And my father made a choice that very much proved that that was never going to arrive.
I see.
Thing is, both myself and my mother as much as we wish it so, as much as we can pour affection on Jasper, it never seems to repair the damage that's done.
How long has he not lived with the family?
Quite a few years. About. This is where I'm going to break character. Just double checking. It's around 6 years, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how old we are now.
Yeah. Hang on a sec. I've actually got it. So the riding accident with Lucas was 200. It was 200. It was.
Well, yeah, that was before.
That was 10
I was 16 when I left, so
yeah, it's
10. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say it'd be yeah. So it's between 207 217. So yeah, it's to be about 10 years ago.
Right.
I have Lucas born officially in 194. So 217 minus 194 because I'm bet is 23.
Great.
So yeah, it's been 10 years. If he left at 16, then that'd be 7 years. It's been
7 years.
Yeah, about 7 years.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
7 years, yeah. Jasper has been on the streets for 7 years. Sorry, what was that?
That's a long time.
It is. A very long time. But Jasper is a survivor.
Seven years, yes.
One of the strongest people I know. I know, you don't have any brothers or sisters, Alexandria. But growing up with Jasper, when Jasper left, there's no way that I could just let him go. I'm not my father.
So now the two of you are just traveling the world.
Sounds idyllic, doesn't it?
I mean, you had a job.
I did. I had a job that I was good at. But not good enough. and Jasper is a dreamer and a man of many words. I mean, we would, for hours, talk into the evening about how we would see the world and change it. And maybe because I was at the right place, right time, right headspace, lost just as much as Jasper. We thought this makes us sound like wankers, but to go find ourselves, just like our grandfather.
Do you know that your grandfather found himself?
No. But he was a marvelous adventurer. He discovered quite a few amazing places. He might not have found himself, but he certainly found some exciting things. I wonder if our grandfather knew your grandmother.
I don't know.
Oh, either do I. I just think it quite, I don't know, serendipitous that they were both journey people.
Maybe.
Chevalier,
Yes, Mr. Edgewater.
I'm sorry for my behavior yesterday.
Okay. It is only a true mistake if you make it again without actively trying to change. You are a good person, Mr. Edgewater.
Well,
And so is your brother.
thank you for your words this morning.
I could have potentially been more tactful.
No, you did exactly what you needed to do. Jasper and I are well, we've always taken great pride in trying to be who we are. If that makes any sense. So the fact that we make mistakes, this isn't an excuse, but I'm trying to say that be prepared for more mistakes before we make all the right choices.
On any journey where you are trying to find yourself, to try and know who you are, and more importantly, who you wish to be, you are bound to stumble. The importance is that you continue to strive to be the better person that you hope to be. And while I may have chastised you this morning, I still understand that. I have done it myself. And when I did it, the people around me gave me their support. It would be an insult to their efforts if I did not do the same with you.
Well, again, thank you.
Does it feel like a plot appropriate time for Spider to come bouncing back in?
Nice.
Works for me.
So Spider arrives at that moment, blissfully unaware of anything that's been just said.
We are good to go, my compatriots.
Great. Let's go. I don't think Lucas can look at Spider right now.
I didn't leave the message for Rachel because I thought we might want to decide where we're moving to before we do so that she knows where to find us with the rest of the information.
Where are we now?
All right. Do you see on the stream version of the map? You've got the little red pointer there. So just basically be to the left of the downtown and to the south of the Blue Sky Inn. A little bit of a cul-de-sac, if you will.
Oh, Alexandra is so sad because she just wants to stay in an inn in the nice part of town, but she can't do that because that involves walking through the center of the city. So,
yeah, awkwardly
points to inn across the road. What about that?
So, like I say, there's it's a city of 11,000, as I've pointed out before. There's a huge area, and while there is going to be places where you are more likely to find a P&B, around the guilds and merchants area, there are a few top-notch ones. In the Red Bricks district, if the nature is of the places, there'll be lots of those. But there's that huge slab of territory just south of Saints Row and north of Judiciary. There's going to be a few in there. You would imagine there would be a handful within easy walking distance of the Great Caravan District. There might even be a couple around the lake, in the neighborhoods around the Lake of Ancestors. The question is going to be quality, anonymity, and size. You'd expect that if you're looking for someplace that's going to be a little bit more out of the way, that is also by definition of being out of the way going to be a little bit smaller and perhaps not as well appointed. But so if you guys wanted to stay in this district, you could, but you literally got the entire city to pick from about where you might go hunting for one.
Why don't we deliberately try to get lost in all of the people? Like, stay where the merchants are. They're all moving around anyway.
I think it's a good idea.
Agree.
So down around the caravan district then in this area, or do you mean actually up in the guilds and merchants district?
In the guilds and merchants district.
All right. Anything up there is going to be the equivalent of staying at a five-star business place. It's going to be.
Why do you think she suggested it?
I thought you meant somewhere near the caravans where all of the people coming in and out of town every single day were.
I mean, that's another option, sure.
She means the poor merchants.
This is why I just wanted to clarify, because I could just see that Alexandri pointing over.
We're not going to the Hilton.
Pointing over there, and and Lucas and Lucas and Chevalier standing between the two of them, doing this, going, one of you is going to have to make a decision.
Everyone has been comparing her to Paris. I want to stay at the Hilton.
We're not staying at the Hilton, Alexandre.
To be fair, if you were trying to find Paris, you would check the Hilton first. So
So avoiding
maybe
wealthy
slumming it a
places,
little bit.
and we're avoiding any barracks because that's where Lucas would want to stay.
Right. So
on a
I
pallet
guess-
somewhere.
So yeah, I'm guessing probably in that little chunk of space just south of the caravan port Grand Bazaar is where you're going to wind up. If the objective is to avoid everything military and everything, government/business, that basically cuts out the entire middle strip of the city. So you're either staying up by around Saints Row or you're staying down by the caravan port.
But also very much, if we have to stay by the caravan port, it's got to be away from the industry, because that's messy, it's dirty, it's loud, it's smelly. It's not happening.
Where we will not be found.
No, I'm not doing it. No. You can
what if
stay
we-
here, I'll stay somewhere else.
Old people.
I'm sorry.
No, if we find some lovely old people to if they have an inn, because old people are delightful. We can trust them.
I'm sorry, what?
No, if we find an inn that's run by old people, then it will be like, at least we get the comfort and the nurturing of old people who, will be like their, 4 grandkids that have come to stay. And then what is and then
Are you?
yeah, and
do
then,
you want to be adopted by old people? What?
I'm just
I'm trying
I
to.
was wondering if what I should do is introduce an absolutely fantastic, early 20s dwarven couple. They're 200, so that makes them old people, right? But they're
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that at least we can trust them, and it will be a nice place because they'll probably cook it. They'll keep it nice and warm for us.
I know a lot of people that wouldn't trust my grandmother.
touche.
I mean, no offense, but your grandmother was an adventurer. I'm thinking these people won't have left their houses ever.
How do you know?
I'm making a lot of assumptions here.
I can tell.
That much, at least, is definitely true.
Yes.
How about we get our gear, we leave the message, and arranged to meet back at our previous meeting spot, at which point we can then go and find a new place to stay and lay low.
Works for me.
Yes.
So here's the problem. Speed of communications being what they are, it's probably you probably aren't going to get an answer back until this evening as a minimum.
Yeah.
One of the things about the Ebon Elves is because they have this sensitivity to sunlight, which literally, mechanically, they're anything between dawn and dusk, they're mechanically at a disadvantage 1 automatically for everything. It's literally.
Well, let's just tell them we'll meet them an hour before dawn.
Well, yes, but that would be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the objective is not staying in the place you're staying at tonight because bounty hunters. So
Yeah, but we meet them-
We
we
leave
meet
the
them at the
message,
lake.
and then we find a place, and then we get up early, so
okay, very good.
they get
So
the message overnight.
The order of operations as you head is send the message, have a meeting, and then change where you're sleeping. And I was just is there something the GM isn't understanding here?
No. I thought the order was.
If we include the meeting spot in the message,
Yeah, we say send the message with the meeting spot, which is where we met them first,
Over the lake.
and then we sort out our thing. So we just find a time that is time appropriate for them to have receive the message and can meet us there.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm aiming for tomorrow morning. For dawn tomorrow morning, actually, would probably work very well for them. That would be quote the end of the day, for their perspective. You know, if by any guess you might have about how they would work. So yeah. Okay. So you guys are going to troop back to the blue sky. Leave a message with the bartender who is going to give you all some pretty collective side eye when you mention Rachel, leaving a message for Rachel Gray. But he notes it down on a piece of paper and folds it up and tucks it away. He says, "Oh yeah, I'll make sure she gets the message." You guys collect your stuff and toddle off. You are, and then go off in search.
Alexandra wouldn't think of that. Never mind.
Okay,
nope.
Never mind intently. Just one sec while I quickly update the map. That looks like a good place right there. So one sec while I very quickly. One sec. Tavern. We'll put that there. And what is the name of this place? It is the Winter Crystal. Very good. Oh gosh, Michelle, home row keys. Turns out if you don't have your fingers on the home row key, house comes out as Griggier. And that's really just awkward. So there we go. And then I need to refresh, and then just one sec. Edit marker. Just give me a sec. I'm just adding something to the map so you guys can see what it is I'm babbling about. Where'd it go? There it is. Oh, the Winter Crystal. Winter Crystal. And that goes to places of interest. There we are. And so now, if I go here and I refresh this view, oh, weird. Hang on a sec. Trying to do this on a Mac keyboard is just weird when running Windows. There. Yes, it did work. Yay. I won't claim clever, but it did. Okay. And then we are flood, and then places of interest. So, and then our P tools. I really do adore. Okay. And so you folks will wind up down over here. So you'll see that. So the place you guys are going to have found is a little place down not far from the caravan port, but it sort of shares the benefit of being within the hubbub and busyness of being not far from the South Gate and the South Highway, but at the same token also isn't so close to the industrial area that anyone's going to have to put up with Alexandria's commentary. So yeah. And
I mean, they're still traveling with her.
one sec, I will toss this into the Twitter chat. I'm sure it's going to complain about that, but we'll try anyway. Beep. Tick. And there we are. And, oh, come on now. Wake up, machine. Excuse me, my PC's suddenly decided it would be an excellent time to have a nap. I could run the entire Apollo program with this machine, can't edit a text document. There we go. There we go. That is the place that you guys find. I'll add that a little bit more detail in just a moment so it actually shows up as, but that is the Winter Crystal. It's small. There are 2 private rooms, which you basically are going to wind up occupy. and but that's fine.
Who is the proprietor?
Yeah. So one sec.
They ain't old, not with that cocktail.
Well, now that you mention it, her name's Madeline Redding. One sec while I drop her description into the text, and because I'm copy pasting this out of doop-doo.
What's her name?
Madeline Redding. One sec, I'll throw it into the Twitter chat as well, and I'll add all of this into the World Anvil site. I've got it all in a text file. I'll throw that into World Anvil in a moment. But you guys will have that for reference. Yeah.
Is everything you just posted in chat canon?
Yes.
I don't know if we can stay here.
Why not?
I
And I like side eye the sign above the bar that says we don't serve tieflings.
are you what?
I don't like racists.
Okay.
We can go next door.
No, it's fine.
Jasper, we don't need to stay here.
It's fine. We'll only be here for a short while.
Yeah, that is an actual thing. There are some folk in this world who aren't as nice as others.
There are, yep, there are people in this world who are shit too. So
I just want to,
Don't have to tip them well.
yeah,
that's it.
and just to address that point, tiefling are going to be straight up, because of their demonic appearance, are going to be the subject of some supernatural pushback. It's as simple as that. Interestingly enough, there are some, there are some places where it actually doesn't matter, and they're one of those groups of people who are almost nobility by default. But yeah, every once in a while you do encounter people who just can't get past what it is they look like. That whole demonic heritage and stuff.
Yeah, and well, they're also like the primary population of the Confederacy's enemy, right? The Empire.
Well, yeah, there's that little detail too.
It doesn't surprise me. It's just
Yeah. Yeah, that's the single biggest problem is, if they were, for lack of a better way of putting it, if it hadn't worked out that they're not quite the de facto ruling class of the Burning Lash, they probably wouldn't be quite so frowned upon down here. But yeah, and even at that, everyone is probably going to have met a tiefling who's a productive member of the Confederacy. It's one of those stereotypes that just doesn't hold 90% of the time, or 95% of the time. The problem is you're always going to encounter those people who can't get past the 3%.
yep.
I mean, maybe we'll get lucky, and this is where the bounty hunter fight will happen. Oh no, your tables.
Lucky you can actually set that up.
I don't know if I want to I don't know if we want to punish this person's, poor social choices to the extent of putting ourselves at mortal danger. I mean, we can just break their tables on our own.
Yeah.
Why wasn't you cast Fireball? It's racist.
Well, no collateral damage here. All right.
So I could just use some banes and just like flip tables. Just walk out.
The day we leave, it's just be like, screw this place.
Yeah.
We'll do what the rock adventurers are basically like the rock bands of this setting, right? So we'll order a goat and we'll spit roast it in our room.
Can't forget to put the fire out. Yeah.
That's it. All right. I apologize for the derailing.
That's quite all. Yeah, like
This'll
I say,
do.
Just it is one of those unfortunate side effects of
Right,
the
it's fine.
politics.
Yeah, I think Spider says, with any luck, we'll only be here a night anyway. If we can convince the Gwydion that we're worth hiding.
We just wait now?
We can get some sleep.
This
should.
afternoon. Yeah.
Probably keep watch, though. I mean, does
No.
I was about to say, you realize I don't sleep, right?
Yeah. I just realized that, like, the whole trip to Breezy Point Bay, we were taking turns watching, though.
Are we?
I mean, Lucas and I were.
Oh.
I just thought
That's
you had a
because-
poor sleep pattern.
I like to think that Chevalier is the opposite to Toy Story, so he's only alive when we look at him.
I like to think that the brothers have just been getting steadily more and more annoyed that Alexandri never takes a watch. And never
That's
saying anything.
absolutely what was happening.
She never watches. She never does anything.
It's also that sudden realization that when he's just sort of like standing there in this sort of slightly like, he just sort of, takes a slight sort of knees bent kind of passive sort of thing. He's like, wait, you were awake that whole time? Oh no.
What
Oh no.
were you doing?
It's like, what does this off switch do?
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
No, the eyes are red.
Yeah, unfortunately, the off switch, the other side is deaf, so it's actually defense offense. It's not. Don't play with that.
Yeah. It's a slippery, one of those slippery switch problems where it's way too easy to flip it 2 spots over, not 1. Off, mass murder.
We said it's a psychopath.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, you're. Oh, like I say, it's nothing too terribly fancy in terms of a place. Again, it's got that slightly awkward looking older style of architectures where the Confederacy loves its sharp angles and high polish. This is a place that's got it's got curves and arches, and obviously, whoever did the architecture clearly had bought two of the French curve tools and decided they had to use all of them all of the time. So
I was going to say Alexandri likes it, but it sounds a little bit too much.
it's like I say, it's the everywhere except the downtown core has got this, like I said, this very flowing, curved architecture to everything. Where instead of bricks, it's much more it's much more like poured adobe, and it sweeps instead of being straight and stuff like that. And then you get into this area where apparently the Great Fire occurred, and so the Confederacy just rebuilt the place, and it's all brick, it's all straight lines, the door tops are square and not arched and things like that, right? A completely different style of architecture. So, hey, Great Mustache. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, by the way. Shout out to everybody else who's been chatting away. I deeply appreciate y'all hanging out with us. So, you're going to have sent a message off to Rachel about where it is, about meeting up tomorrow morning. You guys are going to be passing a quiet afternoon. Anything, quiet afternoon and evening. Like I say, it's cozy. The place is just small enough that Madeline, Ms. Redding is sort of a one-person band. So behind the bar, out to the kitchen, drop stuff off at your table, tidying up stuff around the mantle, upstairs to go when you guys say you want rooms, kind of a mild moment of panic. Okay, just wait here, I'll go clean up. Comes back 15 minutes later, having basically got you guys' rooms organized herself. The common room, there's 5 bunk beds. There's going to be 5. Particularly with the caravan port being in business, probably the common room is going to be at capacity. Essentially there is a table set to a side. That's for the folks who are going to be who are private room customers. The other 4 tables are permanently packed no matter what time of day it is, because again, there's 10 other people staying here. You're just south of the caravan port. You're on the way to the industrial district. There's an awful lot going on, and so this is just a good place to stop in, get some food, have a drink, etc. I suppose the thing that sort of strikes all of you most is that none of these people look anything like you. They're all very obviously not adventurers, for lack of a better way of putting it. They're just blacksmiths, tanners, furriers, coolies, luggets, etc., caravan guards, caravan drivers, horse handlers. At one point in time, a member of the town guard, one of the town guards will pop in, chat with Madeline for a little bit, and she will very pointedly not look at you the entire time she's chatting with the town guardsman, or guardswoman in this case, and then when they leave, she'll just go back to what she was doing. And things, it's all in all, it's busy, but very much not the same sort of place which that the Blue Sky was, where sort of implicitly everyone in the Blue Sky was carrying weapons. It's just, if you want to summate it, the Blue Sky, everyone was carrying around a portable bazooka. Because they're all adventurers. They've got boons, banes, magics, big weapons, blah blah blah. So anything that went horribly wrong there was going to go horribly, horribly wrong. This is a much more relaxed kind of common sort of place. It's like, yeah. I don't want to use the term innocent, because clearly Madeline was very obviously not talking, was, like I say, it was very pointedly not looking anywhere near you lot while she was chatting with the guardswoman who stopped in. But the guardswoman also didn't clue in that Madeline was attempting to avoid looking at any particular part of her patronage, and just toddled on their way. So clearly there's no expected intrigue here. By contrast, the town guards folk didn't go near the Blue Sky Inn. There's literally nothing they could do with the place. Right.
Good to know.
Yeah, funnily enough, cops don't generally like to go to bars where bounty hunters hang out.
It just causes
Weird.
everybody troubles. Causes everybody trouble.
I might have just missed it, but are we in like a room, or are we sort of got space in there?
Yeah, so it's up to you folk. I presumed you were down, basically sitting at a table having some noshies and chit chatting. But if you guys want to be up in your various rooms, you can. The rooms are kind of small. So while all of you do fit in one room, it's going to be two people sitting on their beds, and the other 2 people sitting at the table at the 2 chairs in the room. Right, is sort of the yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we have anything particularly interesting to do here until the morning. So,
All right.
Though I would, if no one has anything else, I think Jasper would have a word to Lucas before they go to sleep.
Sure.
Presumably they share a room like we were at the Blue Sky.
I mean, Charlie and Alexander probably have a conversation as well, but
All right.
Keeping an eye on the time as well. So
Yeah, I'm just gonna say. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that fits in. So we'll let Spider and Lucas chat first, and then we'll see how the time fits.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a long conversation. I think as like Lucas is getting into bed, Jasper rolls towards him and says, "I appreciate all your good intentions, Lucas, but I don't have a home back in the capital. My home's right here." And like pokes you in the chest.
I punch you back.
Ow. 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 That was unnecessary. Ow.
Don't know my own strength.
Yeah. No, I got it. It's all good.
Jasper. Why do you keep pushing away who you are?
I can't. I can't ever be what I was when we were kids.
I'm not saying you can't be that, or you should be that. But that part of you, that's still you to me.
You're not wrong. And of course, there's a part of me that wishes I could curl up in a feathered bed and have nice things every night and go riding and read fancy picture books with our grandmother. Of course there is. Look, maybe one day when Lord Cedric Edgewater is no longer the patriarch of our family and presumably, Victor has drunk himself into an early grave and you're the head of the house, maybe then there's a place for me there, Lucas, but
Jasper, I'm not saying to change. I'm just saying not to forget who you were.
yeah, and he runs his hand through his hair and sighs and just says, "I never forget." And it's a lot of work being more than one person. And I guess that's why it's easier just to be Spider.
Easier, but also it's hard for me to watch you be in pain. It may be easier to be Spider for you.
You're a good brother, Lucas. And you're a good man. Get some sleep.
I punch you in the shoulder.
10 years, the bruise hasn't faded, same spot. All right. Alexandre and V.
Shall we leave it there and start next time? Because
Well, I'm just going to say that's the question. I mean, if you're expecting it's going to be a bit, then probably yes, it's time for buys and.
I have no idea with this group.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so we'll pick up.
Conversation
Probably
drags.
second week.
It goes. I have no idea.
That's legit. All right, so we'll
I might be like, yeah, it's only going to be 2 minutes, and then it's like 15 minutes later, we're still having the same really intense discussion about life.
Yeah. Danger. Yes, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that makes it that time of the day then when we do our buys and thank yous. So thank you very much for hanging out with us, either live or later on at the VOD. We appreciate your time. So, let's see here. We'll start with Drew.
Yeah.
Goodbyes.
Hi.
Goodbyes, and where to find you.
And goodbye. Hi, and goodbye. I'm Drew. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Wilson. I also have a blog which I add to most weeks, but I've missed one, but that's all right. I am writing little bits and pieces from Lucas's point of view. Little vignettes to accompany the stream. Mm-hmm. So if you want to have a read, it's at talesfromthetavern.wordpress.com. And Chantel has one too, but she doesn't have a WordPress. She has a proper website.
All right. There's a good pointer. Hi there, Chantel.
Man, that's not what I had copy pasted.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Hey everyone, I am Chantel B. You can find me at Chantel B on Twitter. You can find me usually on Twitter. You can find me on everything that streams on this channel, regardless of whether it's streaming to Twitch or to YouTube, which we've been doing a lot recently.
Yeah.
So find us on Twitter and like that, and find me and like that, and then say hi.
And like
and like that, because I'll like that too, and I'll say hi back, and then go to wordswithcolor.com, which is the website that Drew was talking about, because I do a lot of writing. It's not just this. I do it for every single game I play. I do a lot of writing. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of writing for not every single game I play. I just write a lot. So see that.
Gotcha. Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jamie Collette. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto or on my website, jamie-collette.com. I'm a professional voice actor. You should also check out Eternium Gate here on Due Respite, which I have been in, but am currently about to start a somewhat extended leave of absence because the rest of the characters went 8,000 years back in time, and I didn't. And yeah, no. I'm also just working on a bunch of other projects. The best place to find me elsewhere is facebook.com/streamed Shakespeare. Tomorrow, in the last of our weekly readings, I will be playing Lucius Andronicus in Titus Andronicus, the most bloodthirsty of all the plays. And then, is that announced yet? What is announced is that the next play that the show, the channel Stream Shakespeare is going to be doing is Merchant of Venice, but it's, instead of going to be a live reading, will be our first fully rehearsed play, performed over Zoom. Yeah, so that's very exciting, and that'll be in about 5 weeks' time. And I am in it, but I don't think I can announce who I am yet.
Very cool. All right then. And Sam.
I suddenly have website envy. I don't have a website to spruik. At least not one that's my own.
You need a website. It's time.
Apparently.
Call me.
That would be me. It's this kind of peer pressure that literally got me onto Twitter. So
Yes.
speaking of, you can find me on Twitter at the _RealSMEP. I'm also a performer and a voice actor. You can find the last thing I did that wasn't for this channel on Penny Peep Show podcast, and that's their show, A Town Called Prodigal. They put out multiple radio drama style shows. There's been a couple since that one, but there's 6 episodes for A Town Called Prodigal, and that I play Ritz. I'm also in The Curious Case of the Paddington Prowler on this channel, and that is getting, we had, I think it was like, and I can't remember how many episodes we've had, but it was the first one we kind of ended on an almost positive note.
Almost positive.
The last 2 have been like, it's like, it was kind of like, is this what positivity feels like?
I mean, not for me, but sure, yes.
I was specifically talking for me.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I sobbed on camera. That was fine.
Hey, so did I. Look.
You did.
It's I think I joked that the Paddington Prowler is, it's like Paddington Prowler, laughter or sadness, we're coming for your tears. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
And of course, I am Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the storyteller GM, the creator of Lano Giannis, the game world. I am also the. You can catch up with me other places on Twitter, of course, MichelleV69. You can also catch up with me most Sunday mornings. Been taking took the past couple off, but should be back tomorrow. 9:02 PE Gaming here on Twitch, where I talk about world building, map design, GMing, you name it. Basically, it's this side of the screen part of the game is what I talk about. So yeah, drop in, say hi, ask questions. That's what I'm here for. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, you are watching Due Respite. This is the brainchild and project of Eric Shrimpicles. And he strongly believes and has put forward the vision of investing in stories. That's what we do here. And yeah, as Chantal posted, emotionally and deep, entertaining, and emotionally realistic stories. That's what we aim to deliver. And I think so far, particularly with this crew, we're getting the job done. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're watching us live or on the VOD, we do appreciate your time. Like if you can, subscribe if you can. The support is deeply appreciated. Let your friends know what it is we're doing. We'd love to have more of you live in the audience. And that's it for this week. We will see you next week when we'll find out what goes on with Chevalier and Alexandre, and then find out what goes on when the group actually accepts the job from the ever so mysterious and slightly unsettling Ebon Elf that everyone knows as Equidian. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.